Hey guys, it's Malthor here once again, and a few days ago I started what was my second ever Gladiator, this time still Varanastra. However, I had the intention of wearing an Abyssus this time around, quite possibly dual-wielding and trying out a whole different bunch of skills, rather than just sticking to the obvious and extremely strong Blade Flurry. Since a lot of the other skills got recently buffed or had some threshold jewels attached to them, I decided to try quite a lot of them out, and initially I was dual strike with the threshold jewels, but ultimately it just felt like a worse version of cleave for feel and playstyle, so we did end up swapping to cleave. As you can see here, cleave pretty much served its purpose and did okay and cleared things just fine, though it did feel pretty bad on area quite a lot of the time with just the one threshold jewel, the area gem, really fast attack speed, really good damage, but still, when we're talking open sort of maps, not this type of thing, it felt pretty damn bad, and cleave ultimately was getting me killed to reflect a lot as well, largely because we're wearing an Abyssus, no doubt. So that led me to then try Viper Strike, and that's what we're seeing right here. Viper Strike with melee splash, and of course the threshold jewel as well, which is just more damage, doesn't really do anything for our clear speed. That said, Viper Strike felt a lot better than cleave. It made me a lot safer to reflect, it increased my single target damage, and given that we could dual wield with a stat stick, which in this case was a Rigvold's Savagery, that gave us a lot more attack speed, and it just ended up feeling a lot better on the clear speed. The melee splash portion of Viper Strike seemed to perform a lot better than what a cleave would. I don't know if that's because we had better DPS or better attack speed, but overall it just felt a lot nicer than cleave for me to be playing this character, and ultimately it had what was a better feel, better clear speed, and better single target damage. So for a very long time with this character, I did end up committing to full-blown Viper Strike, and I was very surprised with how good Viper Strike felt and how good melee splash paired with Viper Strike could feel. So a lot of these maps I was doing at about 6k life and going to the fullest of the end game, and you know, volatiles still hurt, no doubt, but Viper Strike was a very playable skill, and that's even without doing too much to scale the poison or chaos portion of the skill, because I didn't really take too many chaos nodes, didn't really try and focus too much on double dipping for the chaos, but it still gave us quite a healthy result in chaos damage. You could really tell when you actually stopped attacking and you saw the poison go into effect in a lot of these harder fights like the Shaper or Minotaur, etc. You didn't really see the poison doing all that much damage afterwards. It's mostly just the front-loaded attack, which is pretty huge. You know, we'd hit something like 500,000 DPS just on the tooltip, but that's with a shitty bugged offhand basically that doesn't show you the tooltip because it's averaging between your stat stick and whatnot. And Shaper went down without too many problems, except for the fact that I was a life-based melee character, so there's the usual problems there, but the DPS was amazing. The Uber Zero run hit that you're seeing here actually went down pretty damn smooth too. Died, I think, once to the trio, as you will probably witness right now. But the DPS, pretty damn good. The trash clear was pretty damn good, and we're fairly safe against the trash, surprisingly. As we're not particularly tanky in the dual version of this character, you can see there just a little bit of an example. You know, the block isn't all that huge in this sort of build because we're dual wield, so we do have something like 30 or 40 block, and it's not completely massive. In any case, that did also lead me to try out Infernal Blow in this character. So it kind of is entirely against the spirit of the Gladiator to then, you know, not really take advantage of the bleed as much, because at this point we're half fizz, half fire, and actually a lot of cold as well. And in the end, it doesn't really matter. The bleeds don't really do too much, and it's not a big deal, because the Infernal Blow itself actually feels pretty goddamn amazing right now. So that's Infernal Blow with melee splash. We are a name-locking skill, of course, and the explosions and the breach clearing and just the feel of Infernal Blow was so goddamn good that it felt really nice to play in the end game for a melee skill. Especially just during these breaches, you'd pop so many monsters and get so many nice explosions that it made you want to play more. What can I say? It definitely made you want to play more, considering it's a melee character in the end game as life base, and well, shit, with a name locking skill. I was very surprised just how much fun I was having in the end game here. Got to level 91 without really even feeling it. Could definitely push for 92 or 3 if I particularly felt like it. And it's thoroughly enjoyable against Beyond, Breach, and a lot of these end game scenarios. But as we started to get a nice feel for Infernal Blow, it made less and less sense to be dual wield. And at this point in the character in the video, you can see we're using a shield. So I did respec into shields and just wore one Varanastra at this point, still using the Abyssus, but no more dual wield, because the dual doesn't really do much for the Infernal Blow type character here, as Rigvold's Savagery attacks with Infernal Blow, so you definitely can't use that. Wearing 2 Varanastras isn't all that impressive, because the only thing you really get at that point is just Twin Terrors and a bit more attack speed and melee damage, which doesn't particularly counterweigh the benefit of having a shield, especially as a Gladiator. So we have a lot more block this way, a lot more life, comparable damage, though it is obviously a little bit less. But I had a bit more freedom to move around on the tree as I had more life and survivability, to then grab a few of the other nodes that I didn't previously get as Varanastra dual wield. And overall, for Infernal Blow, shield is most likely the correct answer, and it still feels pretty damn good comparably to the dual wield version, though compared to Viper Strike, there is definitely a significant loss in single target damage, as you don't hit quite as hard, you don't have the poison backing you up, and you don't have a threshold duel giving you something like the free Unholy Might, which the Viper Strike threshold duel does. So it's not amazing for single target. This is an Uber Itziri run here with pure single target Infernal Blow, but it does still get things done. It's just not going to be the world beater, at least not at my gear level or spec level, to take you through all of the end game terribly smoothly. Because building Infernal Blow, I think you do probably want to build it a bit differently. You want to use more added fires, weds, probably a different passive tree, and even a Varanastra is not necessarily the right answer there. But this overall as a Gladiator is basically a choose your own adventure Gladiator. You can by all means use just about any melee skill you like. For example, you might want to use Earthquake or Sunder or Cleave. They're all really good options, and even Blade Flurry is still a goddamn amazing skill. But I was trying my best to try out lots of different skills, and for me it was definitely a tie between Viper Strike and Infernal Blow for what felt best and most enjoyable to play that I haven't already played so much of. So if you want to make something like this, then it's probably or at least I would recommend that you try many different skills and see what you land on and what feels best to you. But for me, Infernal Blow was the best for the clear speed, Viper Strike was the most enjoyable for the single target, and this time around I didn't even touch Blade Flurry because, well, it didn't feel necessary. I had Blade Flurry in the pocket as a backup plan, but that never really seemed to be necessary because the other skills are definitely good enough at this point, and as a result give a completely different feel to a character that in the end isn't all too unsimilar from the previous version. So I'll go over the passive trees real quick, the differences between the dual wield and the shield version in case you want to build something like this yourself. As always with the Varanastra tree, it's so goddamn annoying and painful to build because you want everything on the tree, given that you can use all weapon nodes. So to start with, you definitely want Deadly Dilettante just for, the triple dipping on everything. But the most important nodes are definitely the sword crit ones at the moment, and then probably the claw ones just for utility as well as damage. And then you try and fit in whatever else you can as far as efficiency goes. And since we're dual wield, I did try and fit in a good few extra block nodes over here and here. And they couldn't really justify this in the end anymore, so we grabbed some more block sword nodes over there, and then of course we had to path up for the life. So in the end, the dual wield version has 184% life. You hit around 6k life by level 90, and it felt pretty good. And the dual wield version, I tinked around with quite a lot, and this seemed to be the best outcome for the character, whereas the shield version just kind of has a slightly different travel path up here, so it's a bit more efficient instead of going down here, and it saves you a few points. And then ultimately you don't have to grab this, you get more block just from using a shield as well. So you you are a bit more defensive, and supposed to grab that actually. And you know, we have more life nodes if you want them, but in the end I decided dual sockets were pretty damn important for Vara Nostra, and so we went up and grabbed these as well as going over for Adder's Touch to try and fill out the crit that we lose from Twin Terrors. Initially I thought maybe I'll grab a Night Stalker and Claws of the Falcon, but it seemed more worth it to grab 3 points for another jewel, and then we're really close for Adder's Touch, so we grabbed that as well. So those are the two basic trees that I've come up with for a Vara Nostra Gladiator. Pretty damn customizable. You can still, you know, take a lot more life, you can take more block if you want it. You can even turn this into, I guess, non-crit trees, but that's kind of a lot different. You'll probably end up pathing over here a lot more as well, because the right side of the tree is just very crit friendly, especially for the weapon nodes and all that. I think it's highly customizable. I haven't path of building it at all for efficiency, so it could very well be that some of these nodes are going to be better than others, but this is what felt good at the time. I haven't got Valpact on either of the versions of the character because it never felt terribly necessary. Instant Leech wasn't really that required, as you can see throughout the videos or the clips. Ultimately, Valpact will help in quite a few situations, but it's not that necessary to waste those points. So I had it for a bit, I then unspec'd it, it didn't completely required, and I don't really like to play with Valpact if I can avoid it. If you need it though, by all means grab it. We do have several points of leech here and there, so you don't even have to use Blood Rage, so it won't necessarily feel that bad wearing Valpact. And of course the gear, there's not really too much to show off here. It's pretty straightforward stuff, nothing terribly expensive either. If you're going dual wield with, let's say, Cleave or Dual Strike, then, you know, 2 Vara Nostras goes a long way. But for Viper Strike, we had Rigrod's Savagery in our offhand because you don't attack with it, so it's just a stat stick giving you attack speed and a bit of damage. As far as Infernal Blow goes, I'm just using a Lionized Remorse, though a Surrender Shield is probably better. I just went for the life in this case. Surrender is something I used last time, and probably something worth using again. I'll link all the gear up in the thread as always, but there's nothing else too special, just a Abyssus, you know, that you try and get with high crit multi, some regular gloves with attack speed, life and resists everywhere pretty much across the board, a Belly of the Beast 6-linked if possible, and the links, well, they'll pretty much be displayed throughout the video and then in the eventual gear thread as well, and just life and resist just about everywhere else, because well, that's what you got to do as a melee life-based character in this game right now. I think that'll more or less do it for this character, guys. He was a lot of fun. Gladiator, I'll probably mess around with Infernal Blow in the future on other characters too, because I did quite enjoy it this time around. So I hope you enjoyed the video and the character, guys, and see you next time.